Pregame.com.
Welcome back, Pregame.tv. We are just having so much fun with March Madness, college basketball, NCAA Tournament. We're going to go Friday night here. Teddy covers, breaking down Iowa, a team I personally despise. I can't stand this freaking Iowa team. It seems like every time sharps tell me bet on Iowa, and the line moves, and then they get crushed against Davidson, a team I've always liked. Teddy covers, take it away.
Well, I want to talk about this irrational hatred for Iowa, because you're not a guy that gets mad at teams. You know, you're a guy who's always been a big picture, think about, all right, I lost this bet, but I'm going to make 2 more betting against this squad later. But now, all of a sudden, this vitriol coming out of your gut against Iowa?
I hate this team. I can't tell you how many times I'm actively handicapping the NBA, right?
Yeah.
And I get here comes the information. The guy who does nothing, the guys who do nothing but bet college basketball. Oh, Iowa, they're a Final Four team. I mean, maybe in the NIT. This team always lets me down. Whenever I bet them based upon someone else's recommendation, I turn on the TV and I watch a bunch of slow white boys that don't work well together and get their butts kicked.
Well, Iowa's a lot more than that. They are, and they had you talk about some of the metrics in terms of what teams did on the road. Iowa's a fairly good road team this year. They notched a couple of nice upsets
One I bet
on the highway. But when you look at Fran McCaffery's squad, let's start with this. Last time Iowa won a tournament game, because when you think about Iowa, they're kind of one of these mid-range Big Ten teams. You put them in the same category of like a Purdue, maybe, or a Michigan, or an Illinois, where they're not perennial title contenders like the Wisconsins or the Michigan States or the Ohio States, but they're in that next grouping, wouldn't you say?
Well, I'd say well above the Illinois and the Nebraskas.
Yeah. I'm putting Illinois well above Nebraska in my theory as well. But you know when the last time they won an NCAA tournament game was?
Tell me.
I went back and looked. 2001. 2001.
How long has that great coach been there that everyone tells me is the best coach in
Fran McCaffery? I think this is his 4th year on the job.
Okay.
They lost in overtime in the first round to Tennessee last year. They're 0-3 in the first round since that 2001 loss. All their postseason success in recent years has come in the NIT, which may well be where they belong. And this is a team. Aaron White can play. He can light it up. He is an exceptional scorer, but nobody else on the Hawkeyes can create their own shot. And that's a problem. They've got a couple of decent big men. They've got one guard who can score, but by and large, the Hawkeyes are something of an offensively challenged team. And they're not great defensively either, and that's a problem against Davidson. And we talked last week about how I like to go back and look at the preseason rankings of this time of the year. Blue Ribbon, which is one of your prime wise guy preseason guys. Blue Ribbon had them ranked 14th out of 14 teams in the Davidson. The media poll had Davidson ranked 12th out of 14 teams in the A10.
Feeling that they were stepping up in class.
That they had no chance to step up in class. Mm-hmm. And what's happened? Well, let's see. They were the best team in the conference in the regular season. They were the best team in the country against the spread this year. And everybody was wrong about this team, period. To beat Davidson, you got to do 2 things. One is you got to light up the scoreboard. Iowa hasn't been able to do that. We saw VCU do it when they knocked them off in the conference tournament. But by and large, in order to beat Davidson, you got to score points.
You got to exploit their defense because they're going to get theirs on offense.
The second thing you got to do, you have to try to find a way to force turnovers. Mm-hmm. Because, this is a team with a veteran backcourt. We got Tyler Kalinowski, you have Brian Sullivan, you have Jack Gibbs, 3 guys who played really well for Coach McKillop
and
this
Gibbs
year.
was hurt for some of the year.
Sure, he missed an extended period of time. Their top 8 rotation players have more assists than turnovers. When you talk about adjusted turnover rate, which bases it on the pace, there's only one team in the country better than Davidson. That team's Wisconsin. So this team doesn't beat themselves. Iowa tends to find a way to beat themselves. Oh, and Davidson's catching points. So what do you think?
I love it. And I think the fact, too, that
wasn't what I was looking for. I want you to ask me if I want to make it official.
I love it, and I want you to make it official right now.
Sure, let's do that. Friday night on the left coast, let's take a look at Davidson, the Wildcats, plus 2.5. And there's no urgency to bet this. Line's already gone from 2 to 2.5. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 3 before tip-off. And I'm telling you, in these tourney games, every half point does matter. You'll win a game in this tournament by a half point, and you'll lose a game in this tournament by a half point. And if you don't, you're not making enough bets. Bottom line, Davidson plus 2.5. That's our play of the day right here on pregame.tv.
He's got the keys to winning at the Key Arena there in Seattle. And excellent point Teddy makes about how important these half points are. And in fact, I would say if you've got a book, and some books still let you do this, they let you buy multiple half points. I'd buy it all the way up to 4.5. Lay $1.50. It makes such a difference if they let you keep buying for 10 cents only. Appreciate everybody coming in here. I love that Davidson play as well. It goes back to one of Teddy's bullet points in the previous video. The seedings don't matter. Davidson's a 10, Iowa's a 7. Irrelevant. Davidson's every bit as good as Iowa. I wish Mr. Covers luck, and I want to thank everyone for joining here for all the videos. Stay tuned for more content coming up here. Pregame.tv. Have a great March Madness.
Sweet. That was awesome.
Thanks.